Can you tell me about these pictures?
Yeah, this Theo when she was little and she had a boyfriend and now I can't think of his name. There we had a birthday party. And that's her, and this is Theo and this is Patty. We had all these girls in. I can't remember them. I know Linda and Gerlinda and I can't Dolores, but I can't remember them all.
Can you tell me what birthday parties were like at your house?
Yeah,
When you were growing up?
Theo's birthday party.
Yeah. Can you tell me how you celebrated birthdays?
Oh, we had a birthday cake, and we all had cake, and they played games. And,
What games did you play?
you know, they usually had their games. I don't remember what they were, but they always had games they played. But you know, I'd have as high as 26 birthday parties a month. You know, we celebrated all the kids' birthdays. Us mothers, you know. We never missed a birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just till this last year I was sending money and I quit doing that.
Yeah.
But they still celebrate mine. I don't like it. It's getting so old, you know. It's terrible to be old. She was a good kid, good girl. You hear about Eisenhower? He was a good man.
Yeah.
Very good man. Yeah, and this is a picture where before we moved to Knox, Emma Orvidal, she was a good teacher. And she was our teacher, my teacher, all the kids. We went to country school, you know. And this is Leo and myself and Pete and Dad, Helen, George, Darlene, Eddie and Ma, Margaret and Joe. See, then Bobby was born after we come to Knox.
Okay.
He wasn't born yet. This is Monsignor Close. He was a priest here for many years. See if I can see it. How many years he was a priest here in Rugby for, yeah, from 32 to, was it 48 when he left?
Yeah.
Could have been, yeah. Yeah, he was, but I don't know how many years to figure it out. He died in 83. He was born in 1903. Doesn't say on there either. This is Woody Christensen working in a bar. He's an old friend. I named my son after him, you know. Woody that's coming home now. His mother was my midwife. We were neighbors. And I named Jerry after her. She's a Geraldine, so I named Jerry after her. And Theo after another neighbor's wife, Theo Nestigard. She's named after her. It tells on the readings here. And this is one of Darlene's boys. He died about a year ago. Had a cancer. Isn't that terrible? Yeah. He was so young. He's only 46. Wow. That was Darlene. So she only has one boy left and two girls. Gene David Salker is his name. I got this. You don't want to hear about this, do you?
We can look at these ones.
It's more fun looking at pictures. All that's before we lived on that farm yet. 5 miles north of Tunbridge. And Uncle Pius, he come to visit us. He had a camera and pictures, and he took our pictures. Me and Margaret and Leo and Lena, Helen and Pete, George. This is the big lawyer. He's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe it, he died so young.
Yeah.
He was so much help to my family. And Joe, he fell and fractured his skull. And he had laid there for a while before his wife found him. He was going to go golfing. And he slipped and fell down the stairs, hit his head very late, and then when she found him, he already had formed blood clots. And they got him to the hospital. They had to cut a piece out of his head because the brain swelled, and put that piece in his skin, in his belly, to keep it there, normal, till the swelling goes down. And then they put this in about a week or so, or longer than that, I don't know how many days. The swelling went down, and they put that piece of bone back there. And in 2 hours, he called his wife and said, "You know, today is our anniversary." They were all so happy. He's back to normal. He had all that seriousness done. Can you imagine?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Here's something. So he gets to go to, now he's got a place, he's going to go to a veterans home. They're not going to sell their home yet in Minot. They lived in Minot and they moved there for the winter, and this happened.
Oh.
So he might get all right, and
Yeah.
he might not. Now here we are again. That's Pete, and that's George, and that's Joe. No, is that Joe? It can't be Darlene, is it? This is Eddie, George, this is Joe. Different picture. And it's Helen and Lena, Leo, Margaret and me. And that's my mother. She thought it was funny. Lena gave her a dress, and Pius gave it to her, and she got a kick out of it, you know. So she was sort of giggling. We were all dressed up.
For why? For any special occasion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is her. She's got that dress on again.
Your mom?
It's a beautiful dress. And my dad, he always in overalls, farmer, you know.
Yeah.
This is Walt's sister, Lena. She died too. She's gone. That's the school I went to. This is Uncle Roy and his boyfriend, and this is Aunt Lena. And this is Uncle Roy when he was little, and that's Bernice, John's daughter. And then this is my Uncle John, and Uncle Anton, and Uncle Pius, my dad, and Roy, and my grandpa. This is my mother and her Pete Hoffert, the one that's county commissioner. He was the sharpest one in the Hoffert. He was a great guy. He could sing and everything. Oh, German songs, and beautiful.
Was the rest of your family musical?
They didn't believe in education. And he's mostly self-educated, you know. And they were nice people, hard workers, but outgoing, you know. There's Phyllis and her daughter, and there's Lena again. Ruth, my friend, she's dead. Myrtle's still living. It's a little Axman boy. I was a friend with her, his mother. And that's my dad. Darlene got mad at him and she tore him all up.
Why did she get mad?
And these are friends. This is Aunt Phyllis, one of her grandchildren. My sisters, Lena and Helen. This is Irene Bowler now, and Lucille Louise Parrington. This book I had and it wore out, so I made copies of it.
Yeah.
It's Roy and John. He played the accordion, and they would sing songs.
Do you remember what songs they would sing?
Oh, German songs. I've got the songs in my books.
Really?
Well, just look at all the books I got over there.
Yeah.
I was so glad. I thought, I'm going to get rid of all this mess now. No, I can't get rid of anything.
Yeah.
That's Grandpa and Grandma.
On which side?
The Bosches, you know,
Okay.
Bosch side. I got quite a few pictures of them. And this was a cousin of the Bosches. I never met them. And this is Uncle Anton and Aunt Catherine, my dad's brother.
Okay.
And that's Grandma again. This is Phyllis and her husband. They moved out west. Never got to see them much. We did get together when we were 6 years old. The last time I was 6, I saw them. And we get into the Miltenbergers. This is what you have to have when you have a family tree.
Yeah.
You got to have all that. Now these are Miltenbergers that have never been to Russia.
Yeah.
That's my kids, you know. Kevin, Leon, Kevin, Terry, Colleen, Noreen. That's Leon's kids. Then Ronnie and Rhonda, Marla, married to Margie Brandt, and Marla and Rhonda's three daughters. And Woody, Peggy, married to Peggy, Joe Giesinger, Debbie and Sherry and Gwynnie and Carmen. All divorced but this one. Isn't that something? And I have 30 great-grandchildren.
Wow.
Great-grandchildren.
Wow.
See how I've been working on this? It's in my mind, but when I have to talk about it, I can't talk. And here's, what is this now? This is more of the continued. Jerry Miltenberger, Jeff and Joy, and Theo Francis, and she had Michael and Chris, and married to Bill Bort. And Patty, she's been married and divorced. She had 2 sons, Jamie and Wally. And now Julius Donald Miltenberger, he lives in Pendleton, and they had, I don't know, did they have 14 children?
Wow.
1 died, 2 of them dead now. Yeah, 14 children listed there.
Wow.
And then she had, this was Marie and Bob Hines. Then she had Robert and Lisa and Gerald and Ricky and Chrissy and Gary Hines and Lawrence, Hines. Those were all her children. Kenneth. One of them drowned it and had a car accident, went in the lake and drowned it.
Oh.
And this Terrace Miltenberger, that's Walt's brother, has 2 daughters. Dennis Lee has 2 daughters. Adam, Terrace, and Dennis. And then there's a Georgie Miltenberger, that was an adopted one from Towner. And then the Miltenbergers adopted Adam and Teresa, the son of Joe and Hannah. They're in the Towner Cemetery.
Okay.
And there's Adam Miltenberger. And he was born in 83. He came over. He was born in Russia. And he died in the 12th. In 56 he died. He married Teresa Keller from Berwick. Her parents was Elizabeth Schaefer as her mother and Julius Keller. And she was born in Aberdeen, South Dakota, and died out west at Seattle and Clarkston. And Adam, he was born in Towner, and he died out west too. He's buried out there in the same place. Then they had Elizabeth, she died in Towner. They have a Catherine. She was born in Towner, and she married this Jake Kuhn. And they had Shirley and Joanne and she got married to Lowell. This one died, this little girl died. And Joan Kuhn, she married Plum, and he died. And they have 4 boys, or 5 boys. Lowell, Kenneth, Michael, and David, and Keith. And then she has another Joyce Marie. She was married to this guy, and he died. And then she had 4 children. Thomas and Stephen and Sandra and Diane. And then Julie, she's married to Donald Ludwig. And she has 2 boys. Justina has 2 girls. And the 2 girls. And then Jerome Kuhn, he's married to Colleen. They don't have no children.
Okay.
Do you want to go on with all this? All the Miltenbergers?
Well,
This is Joe Miltenberger now. That's the one from Towner.
okay.
That's Adam's brother. That'd be Walt's brother.
Okay.
Walt's uncle. And he married, now this is Catherine Gaffrey. This is the grandfather, Miltenberger, Joe Miltenberger.
Okay.
Walt's grandfather. And he raised Adam and Joseph Miltenberger. And then his uncle, Gaffrey, I got a picture of him.
Okay.
He brought him over, got him into the United States. At this time, Joe was 20, Adam was 18. And then he lived in Towner, and Adam moved to Knox. And then he had in New York, he arrived in New York, and he married this Johanna Shealy in Towner. Then they had a Joe and a Kathy, and they had a lot of children. Anastasia, and then she married Joe Lowinger, Anastasia, or Joe Lowinger. And they had children, John Gaffrey and John. This could be that John
Yeah.
Miltenberger.
Maybe.
That could be him. But then he got married to a girl, John, and then Dorothy Lauinger in Belfort. These people then, George Lauinger, and so she got married to a man who had children, had 5 children, Lauingers. And then they had a Joanna and a Barbara and a Philip, Anton and a Michael, a Frank, an Adam and a Jacob and a Helen, and Elizabeth and Paul, he drowned it. And Georgie was the one that Evan and Eva adopted. This is the second wife, Joe Miltenberger. See, he got married. That's the old grandpa got married to the second wife.
Okay.
But she came over and she came to Devil's Lake. And she was she married George Sigler.
Okay.
And she had those were Igena. And Nicholas, this guy, this John Gaffrey, could be the one that was in Bismarck. I met him, they called him Uncle, and Colleen, yeah, and these, Nick and Helen, I met her, and this is her children. And then there's Nick, and that's his children, Nick, John. They're out west, all of them now. They were in Bismarck, but they live out west now. And this Magdalena married Joe Schmidt. That's the one I met, Rose Magdalena. She came to visit us, and she had these children. And then there's Helen Caroline. I met her. I got pictures of her. And there's another John Miltenberger, and he spelled his name like that,
Yeah.
see? And he had all these children.
Wow.
That's the end of that. This is Father Kellenberg. This is Ronnie. This is Patty. That's Joe and his wife. Joe, he boxed his way through school.
Really?
The education he got.
Yeah.
I got lots of literature of him,
Mhm.
pictures and letters from him.
Can you tell me any stories?
Oh, I couldn't. That's why I wanted to write a book. I want to find somebody to write a book.
Yeah.
He's dead now, but his children are living.
Yeah.
And oh, would I have a time in the life if I wrote all that stuff I got.
Yeah.
And Lena, she's dead, he's dead. She's living. That's Velma.
Okay.
His wife is living. And he's living, she's dead.
Who are these?
That's Adam,
Okay.
the youngest one, the only living one. He's the Miltenbergers.
Okay.
And she's dead, she died. Lucille Mears was her name. And she's living, that's Dolores, his wife. That's Julius.
Okay.
And this is what Mr. and Mrs. Miltenberger. And this is Jupe, Walt, Catherine, Adam, Lena, Joe. And they're all dead but him. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And this is Walt and his wife. Catherine, after she got a divorce from her husband, and she had those children.
Oh.
This was the sheriff and I. This is Adam that's living. He was in Guadalcanal in the war
Oh, really?
till the end came.
Wow.
Boy, can he talk.
Yeah.
Boy, boy. I hate to tell all the things he said. Here I sat in Santa Claus's lap. Now this is the color. This is Mrs. Miltenberger's brother.
Okay.
That's his wife. She's dead. This must be John. Daniel is dead. Eddie is dead. Laurie and Agnes are alive. Jean is dead. Francis is dead. Jerome is living. Now, which one is that? I can't tell. Can't see very good. I got macular degeneration. I think this is Bobby. John, Daniel, Ed, Jean, Francis, Jerome, and Bobby. They always come to visit me. They're good friends of ours.
Yeah.
And there's our picture of us. This was Knox's picture when we had a Bush generation. That's Bobby's wife. I don't know where he is. He's not on here. Joe and Judy, this is the guy that had that head injury.
Oh, okay.
This is Leo and his wife. She's living. He's dead. This is Darlene and Jean. They're both living. And this is Walt's godfather.
Oh, okay.
We went on business trip one day, and I went along with Walt. We were selling stuff in Canada. And we're driving down the road, and here it said, S.J. Bosch. I just about went wild. My dad's name. I didn't know there was Bushes over there.
Yeah.
Bosches, they were related to us.
Wow.
They didn't know it, we didn't know it, but my dad said they were. But then I went in and talked to this guy that had that name on there. And he said, and you know what? He said, next door lives Keller. Frank Keller, he's a son to Julius Keller. That's Mrs. Miltenberger's dad.
Wow.
So he says, and you know what? My brother, and he would be his brother was Frank, his son Frank, married his sister Mary. She was a Bosch.
Yeah.
So the Bosches and Kellers married into each other in Canada.
Oh.
And then I went back to the truck where Walt was, and I said, you got to stay. You've got to stay for the weekend. Where can you go anyhow? Let's stay here and go to church, and we'll visit these people. And he didn't want to, and he didn't want to. Oh, he said, okay, I'll drive over there. He drove over, and he said, if I stop the truck, he wouldn't start. So he left the truck running. I had to stay in the truck. He went in the house. He wouldn't come out. I shut the truck off, and I went in. He was eating donuts and coffee. And we stayed for the weekend. And they made a big gathering. And there was Koenigs there, Pete Koenigs. And they all got together. We had a big party, and we got acquainted. They all lived in this Unity, Canada.
Really?
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, it was fun. I never got back there. I was going to go back again, but I never got back there. But we were on a business trip, you know. We got up there when Walt was president of Lions Club.
Mm.
And we went up. We saw the Kellers. We saw some of those Kellers. We had a great time. That was a different time. But this is Mrs. Igena, Mrs. Eisenzimmer, Mrs. Miltenberger's sister, and that's her dad.
Okay.
Or it could be and that's his mother, his wife, the second wife. And they live in Rochester. That was a sister of the Kellers, and that's her husband. Now these were people, I was told, one of these is Pete Tookshire. He's buried and gone, but that's how old the picture is.
Oh.
And that's Mrs. Tookshire,
Wow.
their mother, his mother. Martin Tookshire, I don't know all of them, but I know that. She's Mrs. Tookshire. She's a sister to my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
This is Fred Koenig, a brother to my grandmother.
Okay. Did you know him
Huh? Yeah.
as a child?
Oh, yes. When I was little, they had to babysit me. And they'd say, Elizabeth, dance, Elizabeth, dance. And I was fat and I danced. I remember that. I remember it.
Yeah. How old would you have been?
Huh?
How old were you?
Well, I can remember. I don't remember. Could be about, maybe I was 4 years old or something like that.
Okay.
And this is my mother's mother and dad. That's all I got of the Huffers.
Okay.
Nope. Can't get a picture of them from nobody. And this was his dad's cousin.
Okay.
And these were her sisters. She was the first lady that had a perm that I know of.
Really?
Paid $7 for it.
Wow.
She came to our house to visit and she had a perm. And this is her again here. Here's Elisa and her sisters. And that's Roy and Lillian, his wife. And these were Aunt Phyllis's daughters.
Okay.
And there's me when I was dancing. See?
Oh, yeah. And who else is in the picture with you?
That's my sister Margaret.
Okay.
And then it's my mother and her brother. Me and my husband.
Is that your wedding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
our wedding picture. I had a dress on for $3.
$3? Wow.
It was pink.
Yeah.
The bouquet was from the place. God, we were really poor. My ring was $7. I had a ring. I wore it out. I saved it, but I got it. This is my dad and my grandmother and myself and Leon, the oldest one. 4th-generation picture.
Yeah.
This was a church picture we took, Walt and I and my folks.
Oh, okay.
And this was Walt after he had surgery, his 2 uncles, favorite uncles. This is his godmother,
Okay.
Mrs. Kurtz. This is his uncle. And I don't know his wife. I never met her.
Okay.
This was Ronnie. This was Ronnie when he come home from the Navy, stopped at Uncle Jupe's place, and they took that
Yeah.
picture. And then that's Woody, coming home Thursday.
Okay.
Ronnie, the 4th, she's gone. I don't know if he's going to come.
And those are your children?
Yeah. Yeah, these are my boys and girls. Now this picture was taken the day after Grandpa died.
Okay.
There's my mother and dad and Sister Clarence and Grandma. That's Pius. That's Phyllis, Roy, and Catherine, Lena, Betty, and Pius's wife, and Roy's wife.
Oh, okay.
And these are Patty and Estelle. That's the big captain. I'm proud of him. That's his brother. He's got 2 little boys. They really keep Patty happy.
Yeah.
And he's a great one, he really does. He's got 2 little girls, one on the way. It's the only Miltenberger we got in the family.
Really?
He's trying hard. He said, we don't get one this time, I'm going to keep right on trying. It's one of Miltenberger. I made a big quilt. I thought I made it for him. And I thought, maybe it isn't right. So when Theo got a boy, then I gave it to them. Oh, they were happy. I made a big quilt with all little animals on it, crocheted, cross stitch, and they loved it.
I bet.
They really liked it. The kids can sit on it and look at the animals,
Yeah.
And that's the father. He got the quilt. He got the quilt. He's a Bort, he's Theo's boy. He's not a Miltenberger. And that's Woody and all of his family.
Oh, okay.
Well, they all got divorced. I don't like them anymore. They all divorced, all but one girl. They're still together, Ronnie and his wife. Right. They never got divorced. That's Woody, That's the one that got those 3 girls that are divorced. And that's Theo's grandchildren.
Oh, okay.
They're Mexicans. Their mothers are Mexican. She didn't want me to talk English. And I told her my mother wouldn't let me teach mine English. She was mad at me all the time because I taught my kids English. And she wanted them to talk German, see. So I said to Thea, don't feel bad. Your grandma was just as bad. She was no Mexican. And this Mexican woman is very religious.
Yeah.
Very good Catholics, And this is Sherry and Woody's 2 girls. She married a colored guy.
Really?
She got 3 nice boys, and I liked her husband, Nick. I liked him. This is Theo in her wedding in her Bort, Bill Bort. And this is our 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, okay.
I think there's more coming. This is at daycare, when Santa Claus came to daycare.
Yeah.
This was a convention time. This is Lee and me in Walter. Must have been someplace where. And this is Roy and his little girl. These are cousins.
Is that a First Communion picture?
Must have been. Yeah. She's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. She's still living.
Oh.
And let's see. She's still living. She's dead. He's dead. She's living. She's Margaret's daughter. And this is Pius and his wife. Uncle Pius, I should say. This was taken a day at the senior citizens. Oh,
Can you
myself.
tell me about Pius?
Huh?
Do you remember any stories about Pius, Uncle Pius?
Well, lots of stories. He was kind of a good uncle. He roamed a lot. He traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And that's his wife. He was married to a Bonnie. He brought her home. They were married by contract.
Oh.
Have you heard of those?
Will you tell me about it?
Well, no, they just get married by paper. And as long as they want. They do that in Montana.
Really?
And they get tired of each other, they can quit.
Wow.
This is Jerry and his teacher, his friends. Jerry in Korea.
Okay.
This is Ronnie and all his team. And there are too many of them. My Uncle Pete. See if this is the good guy that got Walter's sheriff job.
Oh, okay.
See if I can see his name. Muniers.
Oh.
Munier was his name. It's my godmother, Mrs. Martin Hofford. She was a good woman. That's my brother, my very good brother. He was an attorney.
Can you tell me about him?
Huh?
Can you tell me any stories about him?
Oh, I couldn't remember all his stories. Well, they had 4 boys and 1 girl. And they were divorced. got a divorce. He was a good lawyer. I can remember the day when Walt was sheriff and the state's attorney, Conrad Sigler, put a thing on Walt because he couldn't buy nothing over $500 because he put a deal on a guy that couldn't pay his bills, a tape on his truck, so he can't take the truck till he pays all the bills. And Conrad didn't think that was right, so he put one on Walt. And Walt was just sick. He got so sick he went in the hospital. Here comes Oris Forty, a good friend of ours, and told us, Liz, you go up and get your brother and get him after Conrad Sigler to take that thing off of Walt. Because that's not fair, he said. I asked people, lawyers up there, and you can't do that. He said, and Ed will do it, he can do it. He said, you get on the phone, you call Conrad and tell him that. I got on the phone, I called Conrad Sigler. I said, I'm going to get after Ed after you if you don't take that thing off of a Walt. And it didn't take 5 minutes, he was in my kitchen.
Really?
And he said, wait a while, wait 2 weeks. I said, I'm going to leave it wait that long. I said, I'm going to Jamestown and get myself checked. He got in there 2 weeks, he come back home, he come back, he called me and he said, I'll take that thing off of Ed. You don't have to get Ed, I'll get that thing off of Walt myself. Can you imagine? Do you know he died crazy?
Really?
When I went to made out my will with his buddy, I can't think of the sheriff's name, of the Sigler's name, or his name. And I said, he said, did you know that Conrad Sigler died insane, crazy? And I said, yes, I knew that, and I told him this story. And he was his partner.
Yeah.
He knew about it.
Yeah.
Knew about it. Or they pulled some bone things. He's not so friendly anymore. Yeah, that's about him. And he had, I liked Adele. She was a good woman. I had nothing against her. But they couldn't get along.
Really?
She started to drink, and then they put her in Richardson, and she drank. And the doctor there told him, you might as well get a divorce. It's no use. She'll never quit drinking. Well, she quit drinking, got married again. She quit drinking, got married again. She married another guy. Yeah. But he had quite a history. He got a lot of bad guys off too, you know. Not only good guys, bad guys. But he had a good reputation, but he died with a heart attack, you know. When he was so young. I can't tell you much about him. He married a woman, had 7 children, they got 3 children. And they live on a farm, and they farm.
Yeah.
They're well-to-do. They had a lovely family.
What are their names again?
That's Bobby Bosch, my youngest brother. Yeah. And then this is Uncle John Bosch. My best, she was so nice to me. She helped me grow up. I was 16, 17 years old, and she helped me, you know, teenage, different things like that. These were her daughters. And this one died, she died, she's still living.
Okay.
He was a good person. I was just reading on that where he never had to be disciplined. Did you know there are some people when they grow up, you don't have to tell them what to do?
Really?
Young kids, they know what to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them what to do. And he was one of those.
Really good kid.
He knew what he wanted, what to do. His father closed his blessing days. This is a bishop. I guess that's it of that book.